you. I now declare this extraordinary council meeting open at 6:13 p.m. on Tuesday, the 3rd of May. I will begin the meeting with the prayer and the acknowledgement. The prayer begins, Almighty God, we humbly beseech you to bestow your blessings upon this council and to direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement of your glory and the true welfare of the people of Randwick and Australia. Amen. Okay, I will now move to the acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the land of the Bidjigal and Gadigal peoples who occupy the Sydney coast as being the traditional owners. On behalf of Randwick City Council, I acknowledge and pay my respect to its past, present, and to any Aboriginal people in attendance today. Do I have any apologies or grantings of leaves of absence? I haven't received any. I believe we're all present. Okay. Declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interest. Councillor Burst to begin.
Councillor Burst, yes, I have a small issue in this motion. It's a pecuniary interest, so I will have to leave the Zoom. I just hope that we right a wrong and right an injustice.
Councillor Burst, Councillor Burst, my one encouragement is not to do that if possible, just for your own sake, if that's okay.
Just a mother mistake. But, so now, do I actually leave the room, or will the person that's looking after it remove me, because I'll have to come back later too, won't I? At the end of for any further business, so I'd have to come back into the meeting, and then it's declared closed, and we all.
Mr. McNiven, could you please notify Councillor Burst when we're done?
I will notify him when we're finished, so he can come back into the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Rosenfeld.
So, as mentioned in the last two ordinary meetings, and I'll declare again that I do own a house in the R2 zone. However, it is my primary place of residence, so I'm allowed to and I will be voting on the matter.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further declarations? Okay, there being no further declarations. Addresses of council by members of the public. Am I correct that there are no members of the public to address the meeting?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. We now move to the only item on the agenda, NR1/22, notice of rescission motion submitted by Said, Rosenfeld and Hamilton. The mover of the rescission motion, I believe, is Councillor Said. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, yep. I'll give you the call, Councillor Said.
Okay, as mover, councillors, I just would like to say, I could talk for ages, but I'd just like to say that because the 650 resolution came off the floor, and as we said at the meeting, that there was a lot of debating and briefing and strategic planning to the amount of 550. The biggest, and I'll move away from all that and just encourage you to vote for the rescission, because the longer we take this to the and seek planning approval and gateway, if we have to change it, while this is all going on, the 450 square metre takes charge at 225, and places are being built in the South Ward at that, which is actually worse situation where there is absolutely no parking, there is absolutely no trees, and there's absolutely no design to it. So while we delay this any longer, we're actually allowing the developers to build the 450 square metre ones. So I implore you to please vote for the rescission, and we'll move on from there and get this to consultation. And if the people don't like, let our residents decide if 550 is too small. Let our residents decide if they don't like the rezoning. Let our residents decide on what we've applied for Gateway for. And I think we owe it to the community to let them have a say. So I implore you to let this rescission motion go through.
And Councillor Said, before I go to the seconder, can I just confirm that if this rescission is successful, that you will be moving an amended motion as it relates?
Exactly, Mr.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I have Councillor Hamilton's hand up, and then Councillor Nielsen. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In line with my comments on the night when we moved to 650 my recollection was in the last term when we debated on this matter extensively and we sought community consultation, and we were lobbied by many in the community who felt that they needed to see it at 550 or even lower. But it was a very serious issue and we can't make a decision lightly like this. And so I support the return of this motion so that we could correctly approach such a decision and in consideration of the community. My recollection at the time was that the community were very upset. There was a lot of people upset. It's impacted a lot of people's lives. Just thinking back on the night when we voted, when the vote, I should say, overturned this earlier decision and we saw it coming out at 650. A couple of the comments that were made were around ripping down homes and the impact that might have. What I think something that other councillors might consider is that construction industry is very important for our labour force, for a lot of industries in our area, a lot of small businesses, so your plumbing and electrical businesses. So this is really something that helps a lot of people when we encourage, these are small developments, these are not large developments that we do see across other areas of our LGA. And so I think that this is a really smart, it's a very intelligent way, a very smart way for us to see incremental growth to support population growth and also support those that have already subdivided and may be sitting on company titles. So it's a really good option. I hope that everyone supports this.
Councillor Chappell. You're on mute,
Thanks, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Chappell.
Thank you. I would just like to briefly speak against the rescission motion. I note that the previous work that was done in this space was primarily working on 650. That's what we've spoken with the community about previously. The voices that are very loud on this are, of course, the people who have blocks that are 450 to 650 square metres, but they're not the only people in the community that we should be considering. And I think, people, sure, we could create tons of jobs in the construction industry if we took unit sizes down to 6 square metres like they have in Paris, but that's no way to live. And I think we have to draw the line somewhere. And I think in our LEP, we should be talking about homes that are livable, that are good for a decent quality of life, that you can raise kids in, not that are just getting ever smaller and smaller and smaller to squeeze more in. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Olive.
Yes, I'd just like to point out that the motion of 650 square metres was just consistent with our housing strategy, which you go to priority 2 in the housing strategy. It says that the minimum lot size should be 325. So for dual occupancy attached, that's 650. So, so that's a well-considered document which, surveyed the community and sort of put forward this idea as a balanced approach to the amount that those R2 areas can tolerate in terms of, the impact on infrastructure, the taking away of greenery, etc., etc. So, I would like people to consider that as, our particular strategy that the rescission motion is asking us to move away from. Thank you very much.
Councillor Nielsen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Should this rescission motion go through, and I guess the only reason I would be prepared to support the rescission motion is if an amendment that I am proposing is accepted or at least considered. So I guess the most important thing for me is to know whether, if I support the rescission motion, will it allow me to put forward an amendment to what is currently being put forward? Question to you or to the General Manager, whoever's appropriate, please.
Through to the General Manager.
Through Mr. Mayor, rescission motions work in two parts. Firstly, you'd be voting to rescind the original motion, and then a new motion would be put on the table. Once the new motion's put on the table, the rules of, or the Code of Meeting practice applies, and you're able to amend it as you are a motion in any other sense of the business paper.
Just a follow-up question. What if the position, the amendment I'm putting forward is actually virtually the same with excluding one point, which is point D, and a small amendment to point C? So basically, will the rescission motion that we are voting to rescind tonight also rescind the other decisions that we made at the Tuesday night meeting?
Generally, we would look at a resolution in one sense. So in this case, A through to D, and then we would look at it from a materiality perspective as to whether the new motion is considered the same. You couldn't put the same motion up, and the same motion would be A to D, but you could argue that a number of the same points coming through would not materially be the same motion.
Okay, if that's the case, then I'm prepared to support the rescission motion, and obviously then I'm hoping that should the rescission motion be successful, that others will support, or perhaps the movers will support the amendment that I'm putting forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a question through to the relevant officer. To Mr. Kyriakou, in the event that there was an intention of councillors to propose to the Department of Planning to revert to 650 square metres as opposed to 550 square metres, do you believe that the best position for us to make that argument is by seeking a further gateway determination at this point or after the public exhibition?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my opinion that council would be in a much better position to propose changes to the provisions of its plan after the exhibition, because at that time council would have had the opportunity to consider all the submissions, acknowledge what communities' preferences are in terms of the way that the city is likely to develop through the particular planning proposal, and would also have the benefit of further analysis provided by council staff in response to issues raised in those submissions.
Thank you. Councillor De Souza. You're on mute, Councillor De Souza. Councillor De Souza, you're on mute.
I'm trying to unmute, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
I must consider my age, you know, I'm not as fast as you. But in saying that, Mr. Mayor, let us get serious on this, because it's a very serious issue. Given the short time between this delegation and decision, and the volume and technical nature of the materials presented to the councillors, it may be inferred that the Greens cannot have properly considered certain key factors before making their irrational decision to go backwards when it comes to minimum lot size.
Point of order. It was not an irrational decision. Please take those words back.
I have supporting evidence, Mr. Mayor, and it's an objective view which I'm allowed to express.
It's a patronising.
Sorry. I will hear the point of order from Councillor. No, I will hear from Councillor Nielsen. I'll ask Councillor Nielsen to very calmly just explain her point of order.
Very calmly, I'll explain my point of order, that we councillors are not supposed to insult others, and to say others have made an irrational decision is insulting, appalling, and definitely should be withdrawn. Thank you. Please ask him to do that.
Thank you. I will uphold the point of our order. Councillor De Souza, could I strongly suggest that you just withdraw that particular remark?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
For respect of you, not for respect of the other councillor. But in saying that, Mr. Mayor, I did have a reason and I did have evidence to support the objective statement I made. But I respect your view and I'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillors, we're dealing with real people and real lives here, and we have an opportunity to make a big difference to our residents' lives. Councillors, friends, in these unprecedented times, let us give the people hope, a chance, and protect those who have already purchased but cannot sell or refinance their homes, or those families who want the opportunity to live in the area and want to be close to their families. Let us tonight follow the guidance of our officers in the report to bring minimum lot size down from 650 to 550 square metres. This will not lead to overdevelopment or catastrophic tree removal, as was stated by the Deputy Mayor, but it'll lead to hope where there is now despair, harmony where there is now discord. We have legislation and protections in place to prevent overdevelopment and tree replacement programs in place as we decrease our carbon footprint as we race to zero emissions by 2050. Local people want to live in this area. They love Randwick City. By decreasing minimum lot size to 550 square metres, we will make it possible and allow families to stay together and give them hope and keep the Australian dream to own your own home with a backyard possible and affordable. So many people want to buy a house, upgrade from a unit into their own family home, not built just with bricks and mortar, but with love and memories, lots of love and memories. When I was growing up, I grew up in an Australia that gave everyone a fair go. When the Australian dream was to own your own home with a backyard and a green lawn. That dream will be possible once again. For many, if we decrease the minimum lot size from 650 square metres to the recommended lot size in the report to 550 square metres. I hope at tonight's council meeting we can all look after our residents and maintain low density living and keep families together. We need to keep control of our planning instruments and not force the minister to intervene because he can see the inequity that exists in the Randwick planning controls when compared to the adjacent local councils. In Rockdale, the minimum lot size is 350 square metres. Wallara from 230 square metres in low density residential areas like Paddington. We all want to stop the concrete jungles and overdevelopment from taking over our area, but not at the cost of our suffering local residents who want to continue to live in Randwick. We need to do this in a measured way, where there is a win-win situation for the community and the environment. Minimum lot size of 550 square metres offers us just that. Let us all keep an open mind and agree to make changes to our Randwick LEP. Company title is now outdated. Let's think about giving people an opportunity to make their dream come true by addressing minimum lot size and bringing it to 550 square metres. Let's give our residents the opportunity to change the title on their properties from company title to Torrens title and strata title by dropping the lot size to 550 square metres so that properties can be subdivided and affordable homes built so that we keep families together and communities together in Randwick City. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor D'Souza. There being no further speakers, Councillor Said, if you would like to close the debate. You're on mute, Councillor Said.
Thank you. I'd just like to reiterate the words that Councillor Hamilton, Councillor D'Souza just said, that it was a well-planned addition, and as Councillor D'Souza said, that the South Ward councillors 3 years ago or 4 years ago fought hard to change the lot size for company title people who were suffering and couldn't get loans, and there was a groundswell. We were the only three who voted for it. But then in the outset, then when the community demanded it, we achieved our goal, and a lot of the councillors were happy to then take the glory of taking that, achieving that goal. So we are doing what the residents do expect of us, and so please vote for the rescission.
Okay, thank you. There being no further speakers, I'll now put it as it is a planning matter. I will go to a division. Councillor Hamilton.
For.
Councillor Pandolfini.
Against.
Councillor Nielsen. Councillor Nielsen. You're on mute, Councillor Nielsen. You're on mute, Councillor Nielsen. Mr. McNiven, could you please unmute Councillor Nielsen?
Unfortunately, we can't unmute. We can only.
Maybe she can.
Okay, so I'm for.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Veach.
Against.
Councillor Hay.
For.
Councillor Luxford.
For.
Tanya Alex.
Councillor
Oh,
Chapel.
thank you, Councillor De Souza.
I'm sorry, can I just say something? I don't
So-
appreciate that. Thank you, Councillor De Souza.
Thank you, councillors. People will vote in silence. But it'd be best not to interfere or congratulate during the vote. Councillor Chapel.
Against.
Councillor Rosenfeld.
For.
Councillor Olive.
Against.
Councillor McCafferty.
For.
Councillor Wilson.
For.
Councillor Said.
For.
Councillor Burst. Oh no, Councillor Burst is out. Councillor De Souza.
For.
And the Mayor is for. I declare that carried. Okay, thank you. Councillor Said. So we'll just give
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I propose that I now move this in amended fashion. And Mr. Kelly, let's see if he's got it there.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder to that motion?
I'm
I'll
happy to
second
second
it.
it, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Nielsen.
And
Okay,
can I just confirm that the difference in wording for councillors to note is in under point C, where we get to LEP document, the added sentence.
additional sentence.
Yep, that the consultation also asks residents as to the suitability of encouraging additional dual occupancy development, considering impacts on street parking impacts, frontages, greenery, and the appropriateness of specified locations concerning transportation for such a style development. In other words, councillors, this is a way for us to get more feedback as to lot sizes. So this is a way of carrying our obligations forward in terms of meeting the timelines for exhibition, but does give us an opportunity to respond to our residents after consultation.
Councillor Said as the mover. Did you anything you wanted to say?
Exactly what Councillor Nielsen, she's just jumped in front of me. But anyway, yeah, that's it.
Yep.
So
Thank you. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Veach. Councillor Veach, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Yes, I'm off mute, I think. Thank you.
You've now muted yourself, Councillor Veach.
Very temperamental little buttons. Look, I understand and appreciate the intent of Councillor Nielsen or Councillor Said's and Nielsen's amendment, but due to the the excessive uplift in West Ward, I can't support. but I do appreciate the intent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Veitch. Are there any further speakers? Okay. There being no further speakers, Councillor said to close the debate. You're on mute. You're on mute, Councillor said. Famous words for Teams. You're on mute.
That's right. Hopefully,
Yeah,
a couple of months' time that won't happen. I'd just like to implore the councillors that if we get this to exhibition, stop the 450s being built at the moment, the CDCs, and remembering that we're allowing the community to decide what size they would like. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. There being no further speakers, I'll now put it. Mr. Kelly, could you please bring up the thing? Councillor Hamilton. Actually, before we begin, councillors, can you all unmute yourself, please? Just to make it easier. Okay. Councillor Hamilton.
Have you put a stopwatch on this? You're seeing how quickly we can get through?
No.
Or
No. Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Pandolfini.
For.
Councillor Nielsen.
For.
Councillor Veitch.
Against.
Councillor Hay.
For.
Councillor Luxford.
For.
Councillor Chappell.
For.
Councillor Rosenfeld.
For.
Councillor Olive.
For.
Councillor McCafferty.
For.
Councillor Wilson.
For.
Councillor Sid.
For.
Councillor D'Souza.
For.
And the Mayor is for. I declare that carried. Thank you very much, councillors. There being no further business, I will now declare the council meeting closed at 6:39. However, as the General Manager has an update, we will just pause